Damn, Ironwood, and you've clearly been watching too much My Hero Academia, and you've been using One for All way too much. I mean, you're almost like Izuku Midoriya right now. Anyway, hello everyone and welcome to the Animezilia. And oh my god, this episode of RWBY was amazing from start to finish. Now the episode I'm talking about is episode 11 of volume 7. I know I normally do that the other way around, but hey, we're going with it. Now, this episode might be one of the best, if not the best episode of this volume. And apart from a couple of bad things from this episode, it is a pretty much watched to episode for any fan of the RWBY franchise. Because if you've been keeping up to date with volume 7, then this episode brings a lot of the sort of dreadiness and despair, and it just kind of hypes everything up to a very much higher standard, if that makes sense. So, we start off with a very good fight scene between Watts and Ironwood. And overall, I thought the choreography for this fight was brilliant, as it's smarts versus strength. We know Ironwood's like part cyborg, and he's got lots of brutal strength, and he's semi-smart and tactical. But Watts, he's got all the gadgets and the gizmos and the rings, and, you know, it's field advantage for Watts versus power advantage for Ironwood. And honestly, the way they handled this was brilliant. And I love the fact that we see different dust activating. So we get gravity dust, we get ice dust, fire dust. We get quite a few others, I think. But Watts' weapon kind of reminds me of a gun version of Weiss's weapon. You know how she can insert cartridges of dust and use that to her advantage? It seems like Watts can do the exact same. And with a revolver like he has, which by the way looks awesome, you know, I think it's a pretty cool design idea. And I really did like the way that Watts manipulated the arena. Like I said, he had the home field advantage with Amity Arena being this whole like electronic field almost. And with Watts basically having the knowledge to hack it, he was going to be able to manipulate it and cause like the fire from the lava pit to erupt upwards. And cause the buildings and the shapes kind of changing direction so that it makes it harder for Ironwood to get to him. Now, I thought that was very smart, and obviously the way they used it made the arena much more deadly. It gave much more of a kind of, whoa kind of vibe when we saw different things. Now, another thing I did like Watts doing in this fight was the use of the shield discs. We saw them a little bit, I think in volume 3, being used, but this time around, it looks like he's using them for defense against the bullets, as well as the fact is it looks like he's using them to move around. And that little add-on bonus I just find really intriguing, and I just love seeing Ironwood trying to hop and almost losing his balance, and then Watts just like easy peasy, and I just thought it was cool. However, Ironwood does in fact show us his dedication in this episode by stopping Watts at any cost, and shows that he wants to save everybody. And basically, he ends up giving up his arm, as you saw in this bit. Basically, Watts has those rings around his fingers, and he manages to put Ironwood into a trap where his arm is kind of lodged in place of one of these slates. And when he pulls it out, it's basically going to cause it to go like that, basically. And that was actually, for me, that was actually pretty good and quite telling for Ironwood's character. It really does show that he has changed. Well, so we think. Now, we don't know if Watts is actually dead. The fight kind of ends with Ironwood hanging Watts over the lava pit. Whether or not he lets go and drops him in, we don't know. I hope that he does. But I guess they weren't allowed to show that. And hey, if it's a death and it's not on screen, then it's not a death. Remember that. Adam, we saw him basically die, and you know, he's dead. We haven't seen Watts die or a dead body, so you know, we have a bag at least. Now, the only thing I didn't like about this fight scene was the music. Honestly, the music sounded okay, but it didn't feel like a RWBY song. I hope that makes sense. But the music that we saw in it sounded like it should have been in something different other than RWBY. Like, I know that for Ironwood and Watts, they're not going to have, like, an upbeat, like a song like Metal Shoe or, you know, anything that we've normally had. But this one just kind of felt out of place for the show that it was in. If it was in any other show, then, or an AMV, I could see it working. Honestly, I could. So then, the Tyrion fight. Well, the Tyrion fight itself was okay. I like the whole tug-of-war type of thing we had going on between Clover and Crow. You know, just like Crow going in, attacking, and then when he looked like he was slowly struggling, Clover would grab his tail and pull him back, stopping the use of the tail from being used. Basically, they pinned him down due to their surroundings and due to the numbers, and stopped Tyrion from actually being able to do what he likes to do. And that is to run around crazy and just hacking and slashing. You couldn't do that with his tail because of Clover, and his claws and weapons, whatever you want to call it, they were pretty much intact because of Crow. All that was left was Robin to put in a sneak attack, and basically take Tyrion down, and basically arrest him. Now, one thing I find pretty funny is that Tyrion isn't actually unconscious at the end of this episode, as we see him being transported up to Atlas, of all things. Like, I get it, and I get that they didn't know about Ironwood's change of plan before this, but really bringing him up to Atlas really isn't the best idea. Like, come on, really? You might as well have had him captive in Mantle somewhere where he couldn't escape. Put him in cement for all I care. But, you know, let's bring him to the place where we're actually going to keep everyone that's important to. Because he's not going to break out later and cause more havoc, is he? No, he ain't. Probably will. Anyway, I did think that the way they finished Tyrion was quite funny. Simply because Tyrion was laughing, and I love Tyrion's laugh. Seeing him laugh makes me happy, for whatever weird reason. And, yeah, I actually didn't mind the fight altogether. Nothing big happened like I thought it might, like I thought Clover might have gone out or something. But hey, we keep moving forward. So then, Atlas has been infiltrated. Now, this is where the new plan comes into play. And, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't really get it. Because the new plan, from what I gather, was to get the staff and then to send Atlas further into the clouds. Basically, they want Atlas to be higher than Kami's lookout in Dragon Ball Z. And, let's just say that if the threat of Salem can't meet them because they're so high, obviously Mantle is in danger. Extreme danger even, because they've got a horde of Grimm coming at them and they've got Salem coming at them. Honestly, I have to agree with Team RWBY about the new plan being dumb and not very ethical. First off, let's talk about the infiltration. Atlas has been infiltrated, and we know that it's probably Neo or Cinder, at least. Like, there might be somebody else that we don't know, but we know for a fact that it's Cinder and Neo at the moment. We know that it's Cinder because of the chess piece, and we know that Neo's there because she's after Oscar and the relic. Now, if they mean to send Atlas higher up, with them still on Atlas, still in Atlas, then okay, that's a better idea than letting Salem and her Grimm invade Atlas. But still, Neo and Cinder are powerhouse characters that are not easily beaten by anyone. And being stuck so high up that you can't really retreat anywhere with those two seems kind of dumb. Let's not forget, Neo is powerful on her own, and Cinder has maiden powers, and she has a semblance as well. So, you know, just saying, you might want to rethink your plan, Ironwood, because that, to me, sounds a little bit flawed. Now, we know that Cinder is going to be following Winter to the Winter Maiden. But how does she know that Winter knows about the Maiden and where she's located? Is it dumb luck? Sure. But is Winter dumb enough to be followed by anyone to the Maiden? Because I imagine that all staff and security members are elsewhere helping the people of Mantle. So this could lead to some interesting turn of events. But, you know, we'll have to wait and see, I suppose. Hopefully it doesn't disappoint. Now, let's talk about some characters. So, first off, Ironwood. Ironwood, for me in this episode, I mentioned that seeing Ironwood change in the last episode to more of an open person was a nice thing. But this episode completely reverts him back to his old self by acting very stern and very forceful. Basically throwing everything that he's managed to get up to this point away. Like, he managed to get Robin's trust and the people of Mantle on board. Now he's just gonna destroy that by basically declaring martial law and abandoning Mantle themselves, and everybody else is left down there. Now his behaviour is kind of granted, because, let's be honest, he's probably fed up at this point. He's been lied to, he's been, you know, people have been dishonest in his ranks, that being Team RWBY. And, you know, he's both beaten both mentally and physically at the moment. Like, look at these expressions on this character. You see the middle one. He's tired, he's defeated. Yes, he's just defeated Watts. But again, everything's kind of building up. He's completely shocked because he sees the chess piece in the one on the right. And the one on the left, he's seeing Salem. He knows that Salem is mostly right. And he's seeing her in front of him. And, you know, she's freaking out. So the fact that he kind of does this and become more stern and more serious, and he's like, sometimes I have to make sacrifices for the greater good. And yes, okay, that makes sense and it's warranted. And although his arm is pretty much almost gone, and his mind is shattered by Salem appearing, you know, she basically just comes in, gives him the middle finger, says, your plans are way behind mine, and these expressions basically back that up. It is a bit disappointing seeing Ironwood kind of change back instead of trying to find a reasonable solution to help everybody. But I like it at the same time because it is very true to Ironwood's character for what we know so far. It would actually be more weird seeing him go, oh, yeah, let's all join hands and skip and fight Salem together. I think that would be a bit weirder. But, you know, let me know your thoughts on that down below. So Salem's character. Whoa, what's happening here? What am I doing? So Salem's character. Salem appears. And this character was amazing in this episode. She really managed to bring the atmosphere of this episode down to a despairing level with her appearance. I personally felt the mood shift when watching this episode. And I don't normally get that when watching this show. Like, yes, something could happen. The last time I felt dread and despair with the music and with an appearance of someone was probably the empathy. So that's a pretty long time ago. And she comes in and claims that her plan will bring despair and destruction to both Mantle and Atlas. And, you know, when she starts mentioning RWBY's mother, Summer, then things start to get a bit more kind of, oh, wow. And, you know, she hints at a confrontation between herself and Summer. Basically by saying to RWBY, your mother said the exact same words to me. And then seeing RWBY's reaction and seeing and hearing Salem say that was just brilliant. Because it adds more Summer lore. Summer is a character that we don't really know much about, but we all want to know more about. And to hear that they might have had a confrontation between each other, that being Summer and Salem, that intrigues me a lot, because it kind of makes me think, was that what brought Summer's demise and caused Summer to basically die? So we're learning more about this character. Now, I will mention as well, Salem doesn't really do a lot in this show. Like, let's be honest, she's not on the battlefront, she's not fighting out there, but when Salem appears, she does an amazing job in basically just giving all the characters and us as the viewers a reality check on who the villain actually is. Like, we see Cinder and Watts doing their own thing and everybody else doing their own thing. But then when when Salem comes back on, it's like, yeah, she's definitely the main antagonist. And she comes and proves it. So, Salem's character was just gripping and intriguing to me in this episode. And I really do want to see more of Salem. So the use of Salem and the way that they've handled her character thus far, I thought was great. Next, RWBY. So, yay, she's back to being her strong self, which, you know, she needed to be again, because she's not been weak as such, and I don't mean strong as in physical, I mean more like assertive and leadership type, and she's gained what she lost, and she's starting to now remember what huntresses should act like, and why they are who they are, and what she wants to become. Remember, at the start of the series, the show, RWBY said that she wants to be a huntress so she can protect those who are weak and helpless. That's her dream. That's what she wants to do. And throughout the whole of the show so far, she's kind of lost that slowly. And this volume has kind of been a reality check for her, because she's seen Robin be a huntress, doing the sort of things that she wants to do. And almost not really interacting with Robin, but almost seeing her as a slight role model maybe. And then remembering why she wants to be a huntress, and what drove her to become the person she is today. And to see that come back was just amazing. I really did like that, and it brought a smile to my face. And the crying scene, after finding out about her mother, was just brilliant. You know, she wants to know more about her mother. She wants to know why her mother left her and why she died and how she died. Crow won't tell her anything. Maybe Crow doesn't know. And props to her voice actress. The acting skills in this scene were amazing. And I really did appreciate the work and effort put into it. Because seeing the eyes flutter and like sort of flicker and that was great too. It shows that she's losing control of her powers. You know, due to her emotional state. Again, going back to the fact is that she needs to be in a good mind to use her powers. So that's good reassurance. So RWBY in this episode, she comes back to being a normal self, and I really did enjoy it. So overall, the sound effects were great. The plot is really getting good now and starting to build up and is much more suspenseful. And the voice acting was all amazing. The vibe from this episode was so good, and you know, we get happy, shifting to despair, and the execution from this episode was just, you know, some of the best execution that they've done for a RWBY episode. Now, what's going to happen next, I do not know, but, you know, we could get some interesting things happen. Like, for example, I want to see a speed-type race between RWBY and Harriet, because we have the Aesops versus Team RWBY now, or most of them anyway. We have a Farnus versus Farnus battle maybe with Blake and the dog dude. We have Yang versus the strong Aesop's lady. We have Weiss versus the stretchy arm man. I don't know his name or what his semblance is. Don't really care. And we could get Crow versus Clover. Good luck versus bad luck? How would that work? Would Crow get good luck, making his bad luck more likely to affect Clover? Or would they just cancel each other out? I don't know. But personally, I don't think that fight's going to happen. I think too much respect's been built up between Crow and Clover, and plus, we got Robin there as well to keep the peace. Robin's going to side with Crow no matter what in this situation, because obviously she's found out that Ironwood is leaving Mantle behind and is declaring martial law. Oscar could be fighting Neo. That could be pretty interesting. We could see Osbin return, showing off some moves. Maybe Oscar might get a semblance. Hey, if you want to know more about that. Maybe check out my theory video on what Oscar's semblance could possibly be. I'll link it in the description below. I know I'll probably miss something about this episode, but this episode was in fact good, and if you haven't watched it yet, go and watch it. You'll be thoroughly impressed, and come back and let me know what your thoughts are on this episode in the comment section below. Let me know all your predictions. What do you want to see going forward? Other than that, thanks so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you did, hit the like button. Subscribe if you're new so you never miss a video from me. And until next time, I hope you have an amazing day, and I'll be catching you next time. See you in the comments. Bye.